Hello there, girls and boys. Today I wanna share with you a recent addition to my mixing rig, a control surface. Hello there, girls and boys, welcome back to the channel. As I said before, I got myself a control surface, and I gotta tell you, after using it for less than a week, I consider this to be the best and most important investment I ever did as a professional music producer and mixing engineer. So of course, I recommend you to get one, but not just yet. The real question is when you should get one. So stay tuned because I will tell you exactly when. But before we go, if this is your first time on this channel, I welcome you because in here I show you every single thing I do in order to create rap produce and of course perform my music live, because I know that making a living as a musician is not a dream, it's a possibility. And if I can do it, of course you can do it. So with that being said, let's get into it. First and foremost, what on earth is a control surface and what's the deal about it? Well, first we gotta go back to the beginning, also known as the dark age of technology. You'll see, back in the day, people used to mix on gigantic mixing desks, since the concept of a digital workstation didn't exist. Hell, personal computers were just a wild idea in the heads of extremely forward-thinking futurists, so of course software like Logic and the concept of plugins were, well, you know where I'm going. So mixers back then had to go hands-on, pun totally intended, with everything they were mixing or working on, and since music is an emotional experience, having a real physical response and interaction with the sound made total sense and gave us amazing results, such as albums like Eye in the Sky by the Alan Parsons Project, Aha by Steely Dan, and this little known album called Thriller by some random guy. Now with the miracle of technology, we have access to a fully fledged recording studio inside of our computer thanks to amazing pieces of software such as Logic Pro X, Pro Tools, and Cubase, or extremely forward-thinking takes like Ableton Live or Bakewiki Studio that blurs the line between a live instrument and a music production suite. Yet the sound of those amazing records still fascinates us, to the point of an entire industry built upon the need of having access to those mystical analog machines inside of our computers in the form of plugins that emulate the sound of those amazing pieces of gear of legend, to a surprising level of accuracy, I gotta say. Everything was fantastic and all, but we were forced to interact with our music with a device that was designed to control a computer and never had mixing music in mind. But you know what? It actually gets the job done, and thanks to clever software designers, sometimes it truly shines. An example would be Slate Digital's Infinity EQ, which was designed to be controlled by a trackpad. Happy times, right? Well, here's the big one. You can only control one parameter or fader at a time, and that's when the old mixing in the console thing becomes attractive again. Having access to your entire recordings with each mic at your fingertips makes total sense. And luckily for us, a control surface allows you to control your DAW manually, and they have been around for a while, coming out at different price points with an equally varied level of efficiency. You'll see, I've been mixing music professionally for more than 10 years, and for the longest of times, I didn't even consider a control surface as part of my upgrade budget ever, because you can get away with your mouse with no problem, and even though I could see the potential, they always looked to me like a luxury item, rather than a real investment. But as time progressed and I kept getting better and better, I started to see the shortcomings of the mouse as a way to control my mixes, especially when finding the right balance of volume levels, and when it came to automation, well, I can't stand using my mouse to control a fader. For a good while, I studied several solutions and even tested using my iPad as a mixing desk. But for as great as the integration of the iPad is on Logic Pro, it always lacked the tactile feel of moving a real fader, so I finally decided to bite the bullet and I got myself a real control surface. Enter the SSL UF8 and UC1. As some of you may know, I love the sound of an SSL console, since some of my favorite records were mixed on those machines. And I had always tried to emulate the sound of an SSL and the workflow inside of my mixing template. And now thanks to the UF8 and the UC1, I can take that concept to a new level. Let me show you how. The UF8 is basically controlling everything inside of my Logic Pro session. We are talking about volume, panning, sends, even inserts, and controlling plugins, as well with a press of a button, believe it or not. And no need of mapping at all, which is great as it keeps me focused on the sound rather than the know-how. And what makes it even better, allows me to configure it in a way that makes sense to me and my workflow. So if you want to see how I set it up for my own workflow, let me know in the comments down below. Now, the UC1 only works for one thing and one thing only, to control 2 particular plugins and nothing more. And just as a reminder, we're talking about a piece of gear that it's above $800, by the way. But you know what? I love it. But before you call the Inquisition, let me make the case of why this is not heresy. The UC1 is designed after a real SSL channel strip, with everything that comes with it, alongside the famous SSL bus compressor that is part of the whole SSL sound, and this device comes bundled with 2 fantastic plugins recreation that I find to be the best emulations of these units at the moment. So the idea is to insert an SSL channel strip on every single track of your mix, and from there you control them by using the controller without the need of ever looking back at your computer. Being able to move parameters around with your own hands becomes second nature, and after a while you use gravitate towards the specific knob to cut some of the low end of your kick drum in a way that is musical and, sure dare to say, inspiring. But of course, you will be forced to use it with the bundled plugins, and if you don't like the sound, you might not find use for this. But if you are like me and use any variant of an SSL channel strip on a daily basis, these will knock your socks off, and when combined with the UF8, you'll end up with what I describe to be as the closest thing to mixing on the real thing. Now, coming back to the original question, when is the right time to make the investment? You'll see, you gotta dominate the whole thing about mixing with the mouse first, to the point in which you will see the real limitations that comes with it, and believe me, it would take a long while before that happens. Remember, the DAWs are designed with the mouse in mind, so it is a matter of actually reaching a level of understanding and control over the craft that will push you to find ways to control your mixes at a higher level. Otherwise, you won't take any advantage out of these kind of pieces of gear. So focus first on your technique and development of your critical listening techniques. I know you can, and you have the talent and you have the potential to do it. So, push forward. I hope that you found this video to be interesting. So if you like to support this channel, the best way to do it is by listening to music on Apple Music or Spotify, and also by following us on social media such as Instagram, because that's the best way for you to get in touch with us. Now, as every single time that I meet you girls and boys, I gotta remind you something. Never ever ever let anybody tell you what to dream about. And remember that I'll see you when I see you.